Pathways to Wholeness podcast. I'm Michael Warmoth, and I thank you for joining us for this next episode of meditative teaching. Please note that these meditations were recorded in a tropical environment with the windows and doors open, so you will hear birds and other sounds in the background. Try not to let them distract you from the words. Okay, let's just settle in, relax, maybe take a few breaths and just listen to the music before the teaching starts. When we come to meditate with the intention of surrendering, hopefully finding peace, it's not surprising that we should find resistance, because the decision to meditate and to surrender goes directly against the job we have given the ego. And the ego will respond. And so, since we are aligned with the ego when we sit down to meditate, because only the ego feels a need to be different, we become more interested in the resistance than we are in the truth. Our attention is captured by resistance. When we dwell on it, and we believe it has power, we believe it is stopping us from experiencing peace. But what is actually stopping us from having peace is our decision to choose the ego. The ego represents autonomy, the ability to do things our own way, to be in control, the possibility of being in charge and making things happen. This is the drive that empowers the ego. We may think we are happy to be done with it, but if we are encountering resistance, we have not made up our minds at all to be done with it. There is something about autonomy. Our idea of what autonomy is, that we are not willing to let go of. The concept of autonomy is that we are an independent, separate being who has a right to choose and live and control anything we want. And that only the freedom of that autonomy will bring us happiness. The only thing wrong with that picture is that it does not bring us happiness, because the autonomy we have created in our mind is not true autonomy. It is based on limiting and controlling. It's based on fear. It's based on meeting trivial desires that offer short-term pleasure, but then bring more suffering in the end. We are completely free to live in any way we want. But if our choices are based on limitation, control, they must inevitably bring suffering, because limitation and control are destructive. And so, let us consider that when we sit down to meditate and experience resistance, resistance fills our consciousness. It's because we don't want to let go. We don't believe that we will be free unless we cling to our autonomy. If we can acknowledge that, no, without judgment, we can say, I see there's that within me, but still too fearful to surrender, control. I can see that is still there. If we can be compassionate, understanding, sympathetic even, and we are helping bring the fear to consciousness so it can be released. If we judge the resistance, if we are frustrated with it, if we are feeling that it says something about us, that we are unworthy or inadequate, then our obsession with it just grows. We don't want to dwell on our resistance. We can acknowledge lies behind it We can cultivate an attitude of openness and acceptance. We can decide that it does not mean there's something wrong or something bad, that it is not an indication that things are not how they should be, that it is just part of the unwinding of our conditioning. And we make room in our consciousness to remember the truth. Our consciousness is filled with resistance. There is no room for truth. But if we acknowledge the truth of our resistance, then we are well on our way to making room for truth. So let us revisit that. We can say to ourselves, I recognize and accept that there is that within me which still clings to the idea of autonomy, of being in control. There's fear of something being lost, of control over my life, of my ability to protect and defend myself will be lost. We can certainly feel compassion for that fear. It is not something to judge. And the resistance takes on a new form. It's not a power against us. It's our own fear, our own decisions, our own choice. And so we acknowledge and recognize it, come to a state of acceptance with it, and then we can say, but there is another truth. There is a greater and deeper truth about me, about everything, that is steadfast, absolute, right now. This resistance appears within that truth, but does not destroy it or harm it or diminish it in any way. The truth is unwaveringly true right now, whether there is resistance or not. And that, in fact, the solution to the resistance is truth. Truth is experienced and expressed as love. Love is the energy of truth, the power of truth. Is the vehicle of truth. The experience of truth is the experience of love. If we are willing to make room for love, there is no room for fear. We cannot make ourselves love, cannot do love. We must allow it, say yes to it. Of course, we can expect that once we raise the possibility of surrendering to love, more fear will come up. The ego will have all kinds of objections. But what are we going to align ourselves with? Truth or fear? We know the truth. The truth is known in every cell of our body. It is the essence of who we are. We cannot say the truth is missing. It is all there is. There is nothing but the truth. We can dream and imagine that there is something else. We can imagine that we are separate. We can imagine we are bad. That is impossible in truth. Truth is all there is. So we can see resistance is not a power that can destroy or block or diminish the truth. The choice is ours. We choose to cling to autonomy, separation, independence, or choose to trust, to remember. There is no power against you, no resistance against you. It is all our own decision. When we acknowledge and recognize our decision, we can change it. And we can become willing to accept the truth. And then all our desires merge into the desire love, power, energy of truth. Which has always been the basis of all desire. Thank you for listening to this episode of our podcast. If you'd like more information on these meditations and teachings, visit pathwaystosurrender.com. You might be interested in our other podcast, Pathways to Surrender. These are guided meditations designed to support you in letting go of whatever tensions or false ideas you might be holding about how things really are, and reaching a state of peace and surrender. That's Pathways to Surrender. Look for the next episode soon. We're uploading them every couple of days. See you next time.